Mark Kelly is lucky that all he is getting is potentially demoted. I don't think it's enough, not by any stretch of the imagination. Do I think the senator from Arizona, who encouraged members of the military not to listen to the commander-in-chief, do I think that he should get a pass? I don't know how anybody does, but we'll get into it. The radio show is about to begin. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. This is the La Aurora of the Cameroon here. Let's go do a thing. I know that everybody's talking about Maduro and the arrest, the madness of the political left and how they've responded, so much so that even Democrats are saying, what are you doing? He was a thug. We're all better off that he's gone. What are you doing being angry? But being angry at Trump is what they do. They don't know how to do anything else, and I'll go about proving that in a little bit. Tony Katz Today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. No, allow me to change the gears completely and discuss a story that, well, is certainly being discussed, but I think requires a little more of our attention. PBS, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, they have decided to dissolve.
A stunningly fast end of an era for public media. After nearly 60 years, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has voted to dissolve itself, forced to take the drastic measure after the Republican-held Congress voted to defund it at the behest of Donald Trump. The private agency has steered federal funding to PBS, NPR, and hundreds of public television and radio stations across the country.
Good. Now, I know I'm going to take hits from people who say, what, you got a problem with Sesame Street? I have no problem with Sesame Street. I may have a problem with specific characters on Sesame Street, but that could also be said of any television show out there. I had problems with Harold Wolowitz on The Big Bang Theory. What was the problem with Harold Wolowitz? Howard, not Harold. Howard Wolowitz. First of all, I should get his name right. Secondly, how much more stereotypical Jewish were you going to make a guy? I'm not supposed to be insulted. He's an absolute nebbish who lives with his mother. I didn't notice, Chuck Lorre, that it was an absolute stereotype. I noticed it was an absolute stereotype. You know what I did? I moved on with my day. I was aware of it. I didn't let it affect my everyday life. But the show was geared towards adults. When you want to have a series of characters that are geared towards children, I think that it's quite okay to say, I'm not so sure about this. But that's not even the story either. There are shows where I've had issues with the characters. No. My issue is not with Sesame Street or a whole host of things put forward by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It's that I had to pay for it. Same thing is true with NPR. The fundamental problem is that I had to pay for it, and I don't want to pay for it. That's not the programming I want to spend my money on. They don't deserve my money. We do not need PBS to survive and thrive. And the people who have made this argument and ignorantly have made this argument, people like Ken Burns, the documentarian, who knows how to make a documentary, but was fundamentally flawed in his argument regarding the very idea of PBS. He wanted to make the argument that there were people all across America who get their news, actually get their news from PBS, and no part of that in any single way was ever true.
It's a big deal. They killed the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Incredibly short-sighted. It'll hurt mostly rural communities. Maybe that's their intention. There'll be news deserts. Nobody will be covering the school board or the city council meeting. They'll miss not only the children's and primetime programming, but they'll miss, homeland security stuff, continuing education, classrooms of the air.
No part of that is true. We live in the world of the internet, And yes, those areas can get internet via things like Starlink, although I do think we should be much more aggressive ensuring that rural areas have broadband. It's better for all of us. And therefore, they can access anything, not specifically the government paid for thing. But the idea that people were looking to PBS for their local news, what? Local radio doesn't exist? We exist. We're everywhere. We're kind of awesome. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting and NPR did not deserve your money and did not deserve my money. They didn't deserve it. And they acted like they deserved it. And the left wants to go about saying that they know best how to provide for your family entertainment and information. And I say to you, do they? Do they really know what's best? Shouldn't I be able to make that determination? I do believe I can and I should. And the determination that I come to is that they don't know what's best. The determination I come to is that PBS is not well suited for my family nor for my children. They don't actually have good information and they don't provide it in a good, smart, rational, reasonable way. And I shouldn't have to pay for it. And that the corporation dissolved because the corporation can't raise more dollars because nobody wants to fund it. Nobody wants to support it. Well, that is what I want. I want things that people see value in to thrive. Now, I may not agree with the thing, but if the thing can get dollars and the thing can get supporters, well, then go do it. You'll note in all my conversations of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, yesterday, someone sent over a clip or posted a clip where she was saying that she believes that the people are robots. It was, listen, at this stage of the game, if you're following Candace Owens, you just want to be dumb, and I can't help you, and I don't know what to do. I would desperately like to be your friend, but maybe this is a sign that, people who still think Candace is serious, people who do meth. These are two types of people where I'm like, I don't think we could do this. I don't think the friendship is going to last. But I don't think she should be deplatformed. I think she's a fool. I think if you listen to 5 minutes of her show, you'd go out of your mind. I think Tucker's lost his head. He's lost the plot. I don't know what he's doing. I don't think he should be deplatformed. That's crazed. I don't think PBS should be deplatformed. If there's an audience that exists out there for Sesame Street and all the rest, my gosh, go to it. I'm not stopping you. I don't want to stop you. I don't want to prevent you from existing. I don't think Nick Fuentes should be deplatformed. I think Nick Fuentes is a cartoon. By the way, did anybody notice that ever since he went on with Tucker and he went on these couple of larger platforms or quasi more mainstream platforms, no one's heard from him? Like, it's been like radio silence. I don't know if the Groypers are having a convention, just, sitting there in their mom's basement, pleasuring themselves, hoping he comes back. I'm not sure how this works, but no one's heard a word. Interesting. People finally saw him as opposed to this myth of him when they were like, wait a second, this guy has a following? That guy? Stop it. Stop being ridiculous. All right. Now I know what that is. I'm done here. I don't have to pay any attention to it anymore. I'm good. I don't want to deplatform American citizens, no matter how gross and ugly and despicable and detestable their commentary or their thoughts. Now, if they're saying to do harm to other people, it's a fundamentally different thing. But I don't want to pay for it. I wouldn't give them $1. I don't want to give $1 to PBS. I don't want to give $1 to NPR. I don't want to give $1 to any so-called news organization that said, we're not going to cover Hunter Biden's laptop because we've determined that's not news. I don't want to give $1 to any so-called news organization that views the First Amendment as a problem. Which, by the way, goes in line with something that Barack Obama said years ago. He said the problem with our democracy is that we have too much information. Too much information. Do you know how insane that is? That's where these people get into the conversation about disinformation and misinformation. We have to do something about this. We have to stop this. And that's about silencing people. The answer is no. The answer is no. If Sesame Street can get on the air on Netflix or anywhere else, go right ahead. Go right ahead. The story here is that we have done the right thing by saying we don't spend our money on this. That isn't the role of government. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Yes, we should have a military that is lethal and giant and ready to destroy the enemy at a moment's notice. Promote the general welfare. Hey, make good choices, but leaving the decisions of people up to them. Government should not be in the news business. I live in the state of Indiana, if you did not know. And years ago, I was doing, I still do mornings in Indianapolis. I was doing mornings in Indianapolis, and there was a discussion of a program being put forth by the then Pence administration. And the program was to put government officials in newsrooms to be able to answer questions. Now, quickly, the Pence team came out and said, this was an idea. This is not what we're doing. This is absolutely not happening. I set that idea on fire in ways that I cannot properly describe. I am amazed. First, I'm amazed I never got suspended from it. I was always shocked because I was very direct, very focused, very uncaring about anybody's feelings. Government has no role in news and content. None. I oppose FCC regulations. I want very little government involvement in the ability of the American people to speak. Paying for it, so subsidizing it, that's just the opposite of what I want. So there will be people on the left who lament this. Those people, I think, are wholly misguided. And what they are saying out loud is, we should decide what people hear. And I think you've got a dial on your radio. And I think that you've got the ability to catch the live stream. And you can watch, and you can turn it off. You decide. My job is to be as honest as I can, to have as much data as I can, and to be as humorous as I can to keep you right where you are. Competing in a marketplace against all other types of radio hosts and all other types of content. I accept the competition is good, and it makes me better. PBS and NPR said, how dare you make us compete? Maybe people will realize how bad we are. I will not shed a tear. And I'm pretty sure Elmo will shed no tear for me. Let Elmo and Sesame Street go survive on its own, which I believe it could. Let them go out there and make their case. That's how America should work. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Did I move the camera? It's like a little like that. It's like a little, or maybe that is even. No, that's not even. That's even. It moves a little bit. So real quick, I want to share with you some comments that I get sometimes. This is Todd, who has called me a Nancy boy, producer Landon. Nancy boy. So you know he means business. And then put it back in your mouth. Wow. Todd is a hater I have on Facebook, where you can follow me, Tony Katz Radio, and is made a career of me living in his head rent-free. Todd's the reason I always make sure I know where the exits are, because that's a guy who is one day going to attack you in broad daylight. That's who Todd is. I don't know why he's like this. It's one thing to disagree with me. It's another thing to say, put it back in your mouth. Todd, you are nothing but content to me at this stage of the game. But you are clearly a threat as well. So what am I supposed to do? Not pay attention? Just delete you and move on? I mean, maybe that's the right thing to do. Maybe that's exactly what I should be doing. You've got no place in my life. But I want people to see what it is that's out there. Can you imagine spending your day, not just you disagree with somebody, doing this? He doesn't make any money doing this. He gets himself some weird sexual pleasure from this. Otherwise, you explain it. If the pleasure is not carnal from messaging and leaving comments on my videos, what is it? Some people are weird. I think we should be less weird. All right, let's bring it back to the show. So the guy who broke the windows at J.D. Vance's home. First, this wasn't the observatory where the vice president's residence is. Tony Katz today. This was his home in Cincinnati. Someone took a hammer and broke out windows. The suspect is a 26-year-old named William DeFoor. D-E-F-O-O-R. D-E-F-O-O-R. Now, maybe I'm shame on me because I don't usually use names here, but it usually has to deal when I'm talking about a shooting. But let me continue the story. William goes by the name Julia. That's the story. Now, some people want to make the story that he comes from a very wealthy family and the dad is a very wealthy doctor. Not the story. Not the story. We don't know anything about the home life, and I'm not going to sit here and make a claim that the parents did this, the parents did that. It's a 26-year-old. This is an adult and clearly an issue. And there are people with money and without money who deal with issues all the time. And my sympathies in many, many ways are with them. Because none of that can be easy. For anything I have said or about, what's his name? The movie director, Rob Reiner. I didn't like Rob Reiner's politics at all, and I thought he was an abhorrent person in his politics. I don't know what he was like as a father. How would I know? There are people who comment on my stuff, on videos, social media posts. They're professional trolls. I can't imagine they get paid for it. They're just angry and bitter and lost. Right? It's can you imagine being so obsessed with me, with you, like you spend your days on comments? It's just super weird. And haven't they learned after all these years it hasn't changed anything? I'm still talking. I'm still getting my contract signed. I'm still getting paid. We're growing in every way. No, they don't. So they get something out of it. I assume it's a sexual thrill. I don't know what else I'm supposed to assume they get out of it. But I don't know what they're like in their everyday life. It's like yesterday, I spoke very directly about Congressman Jason Crow. I mean, I was angry. And I shouldn't be. I should never be angry on air. I don't think that's helpful. And I use some lines that are actually a little bit unlike me in and out of that segment, which we have up on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Turning Counts. And it's okay. I mean, I said what I said. You got to live with your words. But it's just not like me to say, because everybody's up for a butt kicking. That's not my normal type of talk. Although, yeah, but usually at the ballot box. I would have no idea if Congressman Crow, who I think in his conversations about telling the military not to listen to the commander in chief, his going after Trump, and his lack of service, and then sending other people's kids to war, and what happened in Venezuela, he's angry that Maduro has been captured, and maybe there's a better life ahead for Venezuelans. I would have no idea how he is as a husband or a father or a friend or a son or anything else. I would never have a commentary to that. How would I know? I have no idea how Rob Reiner was to his son who eventually killed him. I have no idea who the parents of this guy, William, who referred to himself as Julia, I have no idea how they were. And that's why I don't think they're the story. I think that this guy, William, who called himself Julia, is the story, because if he thought he was a she, that's mental illness. And shame on everybody in American society who not only thinks that you should buy into mental illness, you should support it. All those on the left who believe in this nonsense garbage of so-called gender-affirming care, which is a shield by which adults get to abuse children. This is a societal issue. Should be looked at as such. And at 26, it's on him. Not her, him. And he should go to jail. Just one man's take. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. I might be big sexy for the trolls. I think that is uniquely possible, that I am big sexy for the trolls. Now, will the trolls be there? Right there on January 24th. Oh, I'm standing up. You guys can't see it right now, but crazy things are happening in the studio. Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala, going to be absolutely amazing. And you need to be there. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. It's just that easy. I wasn't happy with the camera angle. Like that should be centered. So I don't know what's going on there. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? I don't know. I do not know. It's weird. Maybe it's just all in my head. Maybe that's it. So I moved the camera a little bit. That's good. I like that. Yeah, that'll work right there. Tickets.tonykatz.com. You should be there. It's going to be an incredible night. Absolutely incredible. You're going to love every bit of it. It's going to be spectacular. The bourbon, the food, the good time. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets right now. January 24th. Uh-oh. Now Charlie Kirk references. The guy started an organization that has tens of thousands of members. Tens of thousands of members. People line up to be sponsors. If that's a grift to you, you're weird. You're just weird. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. I put the cigar down, and that's giving me an issue. It happens sometimes. We have a bunch to get to, including Mark Kelly. I will get to that also. I've got that story. Yeah, this bad burn on this right here. It happens, but you work through it. And what else do we have? Good to see you all. I appreciate you being right here at this time and in this place. We will get to the Mark Kelly story. I wanted to see if there was anything breaking. I know Trump spoke earlier to the Republicans at their retreat at the Kennedy Center. I've got some of that for you coming up in the third hour. I had something else. Let me see if it's here. Oh, and I have the update on the Hilton story. Holy cow. Do I have that update? That is something else because it's gotten stranger by the second. Let's see how we do with this right here. So this is the La Aurora Cameroon. I smoked this yesterday too. Woo. If the studio's on fire behind me, just let me know. Do not be done with the Hilton hotels because Hilton has worked aggressively to say, whoa, 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 this wasn't us. And forget that guy who it was, they're out. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. Live streaming on the YouTube. You should check it out for yourself. YouTube.com/Tony Katz. And be sure to subscribe. Mark Kelly is lucky. The only thing being discussed here is him being demoted. Mark Kelly is the senator from Arizona. And Mark Kelly was the one who was in the video with Elisa Slotkin and Congressman Crow and a host of others saying you should not accept orders from Donald Trump. Well, no, Tony, what they said is, hey, here's a reminder to all those in the military, you shouldn't listen to illegal orders. Well, if we're going to go chapter and verse, yes, that's what they said. If we're going to be honest, what they said is Donald Trump is an illegitimate president, don't listen to him. And for that, for trying to usurp the commander-in-chief, for trying to instruct members of the military not to listen to the chain of command, jail. Worse. That's up to the Senate and up to a judge to decide. What they did is indefensible. And they deserve all the derision and all the hate that they got. It's not actually considered treason. Okay, but the layman calls it treason. Is it seditious behavior? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. Does everybody know what they said? Yes. Here are the words they used, but we know what they said, right? That's how that plays out. Well, Mark Kelly is now outraged. Outraged, I tell you. Because the Pentagon is taking a look at demoting him.
Well, I'm surprised that they're continuing down this path and taking, these steps to try to silence me, silence other members of Congress, silence retired members of the military, former service members, really silence the American people. I mean, this isn't totally only about me.
I'm not silenced. You're terrible. And you're not a tough guy. Could you stop it? I think that I was going over this, and I think this is what got me regarding Congressman Jason Crow yesterday. And I'll state it for the record. I can be as disgusted with him as I want, and I am, and I think that he's wrong, and I do think that his argument is garbage nonsense. And I said it then, I'll say it now. I will speak to that man nose to nose and say it point blank. The infuriating part is when these guys act tough. That somehow their service gives them carte blanche on everything. And you can't say anything about it because, well, you didn't serve. Just because I didn't serve doesn't mean I can't say things. There's the weird thing that happens where a false belief comes across people and comes over people that somehow an expertise exists because of experience A, when it's not true. That Mark Kelly served in the military does not make him an expert on how the military should function. Lloyd Austin served in the military. He was the Secretary of Defense under Joe Biden. And that guy went AWOL and didn't inform his superiors, which, well, were the President of the United States. Am I supposed to believe that he's somebody I should be following and paying attention to? Not in the slightest, and not for a second. No, I reject the premise that he's somebody I should be listening to. This idea that the generals know best, but we were engaging woke policy and not creating war fighters, that's the wrong approach. And I'm glad we don't have that approach anymore. But they were in the military. They're the experts. No. They can be questioned. And I find it ugly, this tough guy approach. And that's what I think you get a lot from Mark Kelly. A tough guy approach. He thinks it's wrong and despicable, and how dare the Pentagon try and silence him. That's not what's happening. No one said he couldn't speak out about President Trump or about Republicans or about policy. No one said this. You, Senator, tried to usurp the duly elected president of the United States, and you were pushing members of the military not to listen to the commander-in-chief. We wouldn't accept it from a Chinese bot on TikTok. Why in the world would we accept it from a sitting U.S. senator? You did what you did. And as far as I'm concerned, you should be tried. As far as I'm concerned, you should be kicked out of the Senate. If all you get is demoted, you lose some pension. I think you should lose every bit of your pension. If all you get is demoted, sir, my God, you got off easy. And I will state, for the record, too easy. The idea that you're being silenced, no, you're not. I'm not being silenced either. I think when people engage in cancel culture, they are trying to silence people. But you just heard me say I oppose deplatforming. Candace Owens is a fool. Tucker Carlson is a fool. Nick Fuentes is a cartoon. I don't think they should be deplatformed. I never once said Louis Farrakhan should be deplatformed. I said congressmen like Andre Carson should be ashamed of themselves for calling him a friend. And he shouldn't win re-election. Ta-da. Defending what it is you did here? Ridiculous. We shouldn't defend what was done. We shouldn't defend how this went down. The tough guy routine can be seen from Governor Tim Walz, who dropped out of his race to run for re-election. The people of Minnesota now spared a third term of this madness. This was him.
I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online
It's not coming through for me.
want to make our state a colder,
Coming through for
meaner
you?
place.
No.
They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbor.
He's blaming Republicans. There was never a moment where Tim Walz wasn't tough. There was never a moment where Tim Walz wasn't the guy on the full-on attack, and it was Tim Walz who made the statement that, I know we haven't seen a lot of Donald Trump, and maybe that's some good news. Do you remember that story? When Trump was like radio silent for like a day and a half, and then the internet was like, Trump's dead. Trump's dead. He's clearly dead. And who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky, and that'll be true one day. You don't remember that happening? Oh, because I remember that happening. Let's see if this one's working right here.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know. There will.
That's a governor wishing death on the president of the United States. But look how tough he is. Look at what these Republicans have done. They've weaponized this and weaponized that. Possibly billions of dollars with the fraud of Minnesota under your watch. And you're angry that we noticed. You're angry that we noticed because you expected and you got your Democrat-minded or Democrat-aligned colleagues in the media not to report on this. Guy ran for vice president of the United States. No one from CNN and MSNBC reported on it. Nothing from the Times, nothing from the Post. Now, if there was a story, I should have to give credit where it's due, if indeed there was a story. But there wasn't a front page story every day. Hey, guys, look at this. If they had treated this scandal like Russia, we all would have known about it years ago, but we didn't. We didn't get to really know about it until the City Journal piece from Manhattan Institute. We didn't even pay attention to the local reporting from people like Jay Coles and others there in Minneapolis. And then we saw the video from Nick Shirley, and that was the end of that. They can joke about Trump dying in hopes that he's dead. They can sit there and say, don't listen to the commander-in-chief. But when anybody responds, look what they're doing to me. We'd all be better off if there was a standard. And the standard was, we disagree with the guy who won. Let's talk about the disagreements. As opposed to, we disagree with the guy who won, so let's work desperately to destroy him. Let's lie, cheat, and steal our way to some level of victory and make sure we keep destroying our political opponents, dehumanizing our political opponents, and pushing people to kill our political opponents every day of the week. Oh, does that come more from the left than from the right? 1,000%. There's not even a question. Does this still lead us down a bad road? You bet. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Okay, now I think this is better. Now there it is. A little more straight away there. That's good. Yeah, I can work with this. Solid. You've got comments. I have got thoughts on those. How many of my trolls have my picture up on a dartboard? Well, let's start with producer Landon. Landon, do you have my picture up on a dartboard? That's a no from producer Landon. So now that we've got him ruled out as a suspect, I don't know. I don't think that's it. I don't think that their mom lets them use the printer. So, because if they have access to the printer, the photos they're printing out. Okay, good. Glad we had this conversation. If you missed my conversation yesterday with Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army, that is on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tony Katz. So you want to be a part of that for sure. What else? What else is going on? Let me check the Twitter feed. Somebody said the audio is a bit off. Is the audio a bit off? I think I'm talking about the sync, right? Oh, it's synced up. Because there's nothing weird than when it looks like one of those, old movies dubbed. No, not anime. I'm talking about like the old kung fu movies. Those. I will get to the Hilton story. I have got that. I'll get in some Jasmine Crockett, I'm sure. We'll see if that is accurate there in Seattle. A tad off. Really? All right, okay. We don't know whether or not it's you or not. Might not be me. Anyway, back to the show. In answer to a question in the chat room, no, Tehran has not fallen yet. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. But keeping an eye on Iran. Now, you've heard President Trump also speak very strongly about the leader of Colombia, not the university, the nation, and that he should watch out. And the Colombian leader is saying, "Come and get me." And we know how that story ends. The story is that the Ayatollah is preparing in case the Ayatollah has to leave. There are massive demonstrations happening, or have been happening, in Iran. The living has become untenable. You've got massive sanctions. The country just was ripped asunder by these hits on their nuclear facility, which leads them to recognize that the old days of them being somehow isolated and safe are over. And even the back and forth they had with the Israelis didn't stop the Israelis. Okay, you do this, we do that. Okay, everything's done. And they realized that it wasn't going to be that way anymore. Then the U.S. got involved in a bombing raid that I think we should be clear at this moment. Either the Iranians never saw, or they saw and they knew there was nothing they could do about it. Zero that they could do about it. the people, realizing that maybe there's a weakness and an opportunity, are trying to take advantage of the opportunity. I'm thrilled for them, and I want this for them very, very badly. But as of yet, the Ayatollah is not out of power. And you would need more than the Ayatollah out of power. You need that hardliner system toppled. And I do indeed hope that it comes. I want to see that just like everybody else does. Or I would assume everybody not named Tucker Carlson does. All right, that's the last one. That's the last reference, I promise. There's only so much of that one person should do. An interesting story over in the Wall Street Journal. What happened to happy hour? Turns out that after work, people are not going out for a beer, which would make sense because nobody's at the office. You still have people working at home. Who's going to go to the office after work? And you have generational shifts in drinking where they're not drinking beer, they're not drinking alcohol. Over on my Cigar and Bourbon show, Eat, Drink, Smoke, which is heard across the country, eatdrinksmokeshow.com. We have been talking about this and the shifts in drinking and what the Ozempic Society has done to drinking and Gen Z, etc. And people started screaming at us, no, this is all about tariffs and Canada. You're just not willing to go after Trump. With all due respect, tariffs have had an effect on bourbon sold in Canada, and certainly is part of the reason that groups like Jim Beam aren't going to be producing from certain facilities for a year. But it is not the totality of the conversation. The totality is there have been cultural shifts. And more stories are coming out about this, something we've been talking about for months. And here's another story. How do you expect people to go to a happy hour when people don't happy hour? They just don't. They don't mind being social. Well, I guess maybe they do a little bit mind being social. But going out after work for a beer is just they're not in the office and they're not drinking beer. That's what happened to the happy hour. And bars are going to have to figure it out with, I'm not sure what, but it probably won't be as enjoyable as beer. This is Tony Katz today. I don't know. They're gonna offer, mocktails in a salad bar. I don't know. It's sad though. It's this lack of sociability. And then there's a whole conversation about whether Gen Z feels that, it's all just not worth it. Nothing's going to work out great. They're not going to do as well as their parents. It's all going to be a slog and whatever. Right. Now, Producer Landon, are you Gen Z? Okay. Does your generation feel that the future is not bright? They feel like it's not a bright future. And that sucks. That's a real fundamental issue. And yes, Liberty, I think you've got a point. Maybe they're smoking weed and not doing beer, but weed or gummies or other things. But really, as a generation, they're doing less of those things because they're much more focused on quote unquote health, right? As a matter of where the what's the word I'm looking for? Where the trends are and the direction is. So you could have a point there, but I don't know if it's totally the point. But there is something to be said that Gen Z, which I have liked quite a bit, I've liked working with, and I've had I think is got a pretty good head on straight. They don't feel like there's a big future for them. That's a problem. That is a true and real issue that needs to be addressed. We're in the commercial break right now, so we're going to take the break right here. Kick back, relax, smoke them if you got them. We'll be back in a few, right? So hang loose, and we will be right back. I can figure it out. Welcome back. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Yes, I've got the whole story about the Hilton, which is really interesting. What has gone on here and how it is that they have responded and reacted. And yeah, I'm not going to buy into this. The Trump administration sparks midterm vaccine war. No. Far from it. Far from it. I think they're winning this battle. I think the fact that Republicans have not utilized MAHA to their advantage is insane. Is crazed. It is victory for them. They just got to go out there and use it. So this is the Cameroon. I believe this is the 1903 from La Aurora. I was able to find this on sale for, I think I spent $7 a stick. I think it's just a nice, easy smoke for that. The Cameroon wrapper, and I really do like Cameroon wrappers. Nice cigar. Now, it did not make my list for cigar of the year. That list is coming out this weekend for Eat, Drink, Smoke. My number one cigar, I think, is just is just special, absolutely special. So, look forward to sharing that with you. In the meantime, we're getting back to the show. Let's get to it. There are two stories that have been presented, and I must question both of them in their validity. One about Greenland, one about vaccines. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. That's KATZ for those of you playing the home game. The Greenland story. Yes, the United States wants Greenland under President Trump. When this first came up, what we said was, first of all, Greenland is would you call it a protectorate of Denmark? Is that what it would be called? Or is it part of the Danish kingdom? I think they would consider it part of the kingdom in a Danish territory. Better said. Trump wants it. There's an understanding of its strategic importance when you're dealing with China and Russia and you want over-the-horizon capability, and you're realizing that the technology has gotten so much better that the ability for ships to cut through the ice and be able to more quickly get to North America from Russia and from China, well, this creates a strategic disadvantage, and it has to be corrected. Rational people do this. They look at the world and they look at the threats and they honestly assess the threats and say, how do we deal with the threats? Well, one of the ways to deal with the threats is to be able to have land and the capability to strike in a way before your adversary, your enemy, could strike you. That makes Greenland outrageously important. It's possible that some people have never looked at a map. You should look at a map. I know, it sounds so dumb. But it's true. People they assume they know where things are. They assume they know what is, but they never once really and truly take a look at the totality of the situation. This is Greenland right here. I know what you're saying, Tony. It's radio. But some people are watching the live stream. If you take a look at its place above Canada, don't think of it as to the east, think of it as to the north. And then how it so easily takes a look at Russia. That's what we're looking at. This opportunity to have nothing but opportunity. Oh, sure, there's minerals and all sorts of other things that are going on there, but it's about strategic advantage. The Danes are infuriated by this idea that the president would even think of saying that Greenland is up for grabs or up for sale. I think that it fits perfectly in line with President Trump's mentality of, you don't know until you ask. Let's put the conversation in play. Let's see where it goes from there. Because maybe we don't get to buy it, but maybe we get to ensure that our bases are there and other people's bases aren't there, and that's the win. Maybe we got to keep talking in a certain way to get other people to say, well, we don't want them to talk this way, maybe we'll make a deal. It's as if these people don't understand what Trump is all about. The first rule of Trumpism, because there are two rules of Trumpism, by the way. The first rule of Trumpism is Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. That's it. That's it. I coined that back in 2016, 2017. It is still true to this day. So now, as the Wall Street Journal has the story, alarm spreads among U.S. allies over Trump's demand for Greenland. European leaders, reluctant to criticize Trump over Venezuela, fear irreparable damage to NATO if he seizes the Danish territory. Whoa. Couple of things to do here. First, there was some reporting, I don't know where it's gone, that the German chancellor wanted answers from President Trump about why he did this. The president of the United States doesn't have to give the German chancellor any answer. The president of the United States only has to say to the German chancellor, you know, we'll do it again if we have to. That's it. Maybe third time's the charm with you people. I'm not even sure it has to get that rough. But that's the only answer that you have to give any German leadership. But if the Germans were like, hey, well, can you explain to us what the story is here, what's going on and how you did it and what's coming next and what this actually means, like that would be fine. That's a friend asking a friend, hey, what's the story here? I don't think anybody is even remotely thinking that the United States is going to plant a flag in Greenland and say, this is ours now. Nobody sees that. I would be opposed to that. The United States, Stephen Miller said this last night. I think he was on with Jake Tapper, and Jake Tapper is a special kind of special. Stephen Miller was like, no, we need Greenland. Right? He's unapologetic, but it's part of the presentation to get to the place where you get to the negotiation, which is all Trump wants. He wants the deal. And if he can't get it this way, he'll get it that way. He has absolutely no fear. And I think a lot of people look at that and say, you know, well, this is just, it's so despicable and it's so abusive. It's how it works. It's how it works with him. And the question is, does it lead to results? There is no threat going on to Greenland. The Wall Street Journal reports or writes, Denmark has urged the U.S. to stop threatening the territory of a historic ally and warned that any U.S. military operation to seize Greenland would spell the end of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Correct. No, I'm not even disagreeing with that. And what is the next sentence? Major European NATO members rallied to Denmark's side, calling on the U.S. to choose cooperation, not coercion, in a joint statement on Tuesday. Translation? Oh, so we're negotiating. And that, kids, is how it works. That's how it works. We're going to be tough and proactive after Trump takes out Maduro in Venezuela and say, don't you try that here. We'll work with you, but don't think you could just take us. And look at them engaging a leverage point about NATO. By the way, you know what NATO is without the United States? Yeah, nobody else does either. So that's one story. Here's the other one. Trump administration sparks midterm vaccine war. Oh no. Oh, no. And if they did, they already have it won. The Trump administration made good on its vows to upend childhood vaccinations, according to Axios, just days into the new year, ensuring that public health will be a prominent midterm campaign issue. What did they do? They reduced the amount of vaccines recommended from 17 to 11. That's a win. It's a win. It's a win. If the Democratic Party now wants to engage some great conversation about they're putting children at risk, Democrats were the ones saying you should vaccinate your children for COVID and give them boosters, and they still give them boosters. Democrats were the one who kept kids at home instead of being in school and brought them to this falling behind and this social isolation. You think parents are going to be rallying to the cause of Democrats? Thank goodness you're here to protect us by making me put more crap into my kids. I am not anti-vaccine. I want to say for the record, I am pro-vaccine. So much so that when they created what they called the vaccine for COVID and Operation Warp Speed, I said on this show, that is amazing. A total rethink of how to go about getting these things done. Here's the money. Go make something happen. And while there are absolutely issues, and people have had issues with the vaccine, in the anecdotal, the doctors I know, I talk to, I speak to, they all say still, vaccines save lives unquestionably. I know people are going to yell and scream and fight about it. I get it. Has the vaccine led to issues like enlargement of the heart in some people? No doubt. That's the mRNA. And then there was the J&J vaccine, and you had women with blood clots. Not many, but some. You're not going to get me to disagree. And the thing that I always favored was being able to discuss this stuff openly and freely, and it was the Biden administration, the Democrats, who said no and prevented stories from getting out there and threatened social media groups saying, don't allow these people to speak, don't allow these kinds of things to be said. And you think there's going to be a war regarding vaccines? The Republicans are going to win this war hands down. Why? Because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is more popular than any Democrat out there and near every Republican out there. What are you going to do, Democrats? You going to put Pete Buttigieg out there to debate RFK on health? Pete Buttigieg was the guy who, with his male partner, was taking the photos of him and their newly adopted kids in bed like they had just given birth or they were breastfeeding. That's Pete Buttigieg, right? The former mayor of South Bend, Indiana. And I said at the time, man, nobody likes him in South Bend. And that was factual. The transportation secretary under Joe Biden, who did nothing for transportation, even though he really loved choo-choo trains. Just ask the people of East Palestine, Ohio. Who are they going to put up to debate? RFK Jr. I would say, well, why don't they put up their HHS secretary? The problem is, you don't remember who that was. That's right. It was Javier Becerra, wasn't it? Wasn't it Javier Becerra out of California? Wasn't he the Secretary of Health and Human Services? Not a doctor. And did what? I put forth to you that RFK is not a doctor either. But man, it seems like the guy has done a whole bunch of research. It seems like he has an idea. It seems that as he has been the Secretary of Health and Human Services, we're removing food dyes. We're giving parents an opportunity to make sure their kids get healthier food. We're saying of the vaccine schedule, maybe this was a level of overkill. Maybe this is too much. I know that as a parent, when we took a look at the vaccine schedule, we went to our doctor and I said, and we said, this is nuts. You want me to give this infant all these shots at once, that's crazy. We're not doing that. To which our doctor, and there was a reason that she was our doctor at the time, said, okay, why don't we spread it out? Why don't we spread it out? That's exactly what we did. We spread it out. You know what people do nowadays? They spread it out. And I don't think we were the only ones. I think that was happening in a lot of places. It just wasn't very much talked about. Parents being in charge of their kids' health is always very important. And looking at things analytically and saying, that's not for my kid, extremely important. All those parents who said no to vaccinating their kids were right. But I don't think that some 50-year-old or some 60-year-old who decided to get vaccinated for COVID was wrong. It's a unique position. I know. I'm used to taking unique positions. You want to get into a fight about who America more follows regarding health, and Kennedy and Dr. Oz and Dr. Markey are going to win this conversation hands down. The Democrats have no one they can throw at this. They're going to lose this conversation. And I say this knowing full well that I opposed RFK being the Health and Human Services Secretary, and I still stand by it. I would want him from the outside. I didn't want him in any level of succession, and I didn't want him in the cabinet because he's a progressive at heart. And I haven't totally come to the place where these things that he used to say, that if you didn't believe in environmental protections here or global warming there, you should be in jail. I don't think he's totally over that. I say that clearly. Who's going to win the argument? Ken in the chat room. That's right. Who's going to win the argument? RFK, who says your child doesn't need all this insanity and we have the data to prove it? Or the Democrats who said, take a shot or lose your job, nurses? Here you are in the front lines dealing with a disease nobody understood, a virus nobody understood, risking your life every single day. Oh, you won't take a vaccine? You're the villain, you're the enemy, you're fired. Whose side? You want to talk about not understanding where America is? That. Oh, as a matter of fact, and I've been preparing this, of course, for the event on January 24th, tickets.tonykatz.com, and get your tickets right now. Maha is the secret weapon in the midterm fight. It is. And I will be explaining it. Join me Saturday, January 24th, tickets.tonykatz.com. Have some bourbon, and we will dig into all of it, and you will leave saying, my gosh, first of all, great time, and secondly, all right, I'm ready to help win this thing. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back. Tony Katz, how you doing? Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Until I saw a post from Hillary Clinton. I know, right? I did not realize that it was January 6th. 5 years since that fateful day. Huh. Sorry, I was just looking on Twitter for it. And all I see is Dan Bongino punching Matt Gaetz in the face. Oh, it's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a very, very interesting year. That much is for sure. But it's been 5 years since January 6th, and Democrats are still talking about this. Nobody else is even close to talking about this. Nowhere close. But they're still on it, and there is a reason. They can't give up the ghost. They have to hate constantly and consistently. They have to spread Trump the enemy because they don't have any policy to run on. None. I don't know what it is they think they believe in, but they can't articulate it. They have no way of doing it. We're coming back. Coming back.
Six, 5 years ago, we began the day prayerfully. We had a Zoom call with our members because it was the time of COVID. And on that call, I said, this is the Feast of the Epiphany. This is an important Christian feast. And let us hope that that word epiphany, which means we also not only a feast of the Epiphany, but the idea of the Epiphany, that people will see the light in a different way.
Oh, Nancy Pelosi. If I can get Marjorie Taylor Greene to retire, why can't I get you to go? Seriously. Seriously. Just exit stage left. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. It wasn't until I saw a post from Hillary Clinton, I swear to you, I have a weird Twitter feed, that I realized it's a 5-year anniversary of January 6th. Like, it didn't dawn on me because I don't know, I'm a normal person and I don't treat it like something religious, which is weird because the Democratic Party does, and they don't even believe in religion. Well, Nancy Pelosi, I guess, notwithstanding.
We were prepared that day under the leadership of Jamie Raskin. He had prepared us in advance to go to the floor very, very legally. It was about the facts and it was about
Legally.
the law.
Is that how you
And
were
it was
prepared?
very nonpartisan. In fact, all of our testimony was based on Republican testimony throughout the states that would be in question.
There's nothing else to listen to here. They are actually having Nancy Pelosi engaging in some kind of testifying about January 6th. It's all show. It's all theater. A riot happened that day, and it was wrong. And there are some people who were violent and got arrested, and rightfully so. And some people who did nothing wrong, and they were abused by their government, and the government owes them an apology. Two things happened. But this is cultish behavior at this stage of the game. To try and get America to think that that January 6th is akin to September 11th, that January 6th is the darkest day in American history. It's not. January 6th comes nowhere close to the day that Democrats realized Joe Biden couldn't do the job anymore. And so they kept him in office and did the job for him because that was a coup. January 6th was a riot and a coup is worse. But they're going to tear at their clothes today and mourn. Let them. This is Tony Katz today. They're children. They are all children. Hold on a second. This just in. Trump needs to be in prison. Why? Alex, cut through the anger. Put your feelings to the side. And why don't you explain to us rationally why it is you say that Donald Trump should be in prison? Go on. We're waiting. Meanwhile, Mike, hello from Florida. Good to see you, man. Thank you for being here. It's MAGA, Florida? I'm assuming that's somewhere near Orlando. I don't. Oh, you meant MAGA. Got it. Got it right there. Thank you, Ann, for laughing. Come on, Alex. Come on, Alex. I've seen. You see, I asked you to do something without emotion, and then you've got a comment here that I won't even share, which is just you repeating things because you're, weird. Hold on. So you're saying all the evidence that Pam Bondi is hiding and Jack Smith already testified that he can prove. So you're making the argument, what? So this is about classified documents? Because Jack Smith has already been shown to be someone who knew he didn't have a case, but pushed anyway, in the words of Laventry Beria, who ran Stalin's secret police, show me the man and I'll show you the crime, who tried to find a crime where none existed, just like Alvin Bragg in New York. What do you mean I'm wrong? What did I say that was wrong? I just engaged with you the facts. What was shown, what was found? That Trump had classified documents? Well, the question has not yet been answered. Can the president of the United States have classified documents? And for the record, I oppose him having classified documents. Just like I oppose Joe Biden having classified documents. The difference is Trump was the president. By taking the document, is that in and of itself the declassification? And before you scream, no, that's emotional, what is the answer? Because if the president can't declassify these things, the question is who can? And if you say to me some other body or some other perfunctory, well, that's not how the system works. The president is the chief executive. The president is the final say on those things, not the courts. You're absolutely correct. Let's go back to Alex here, who's decided to engage us. He was not the president when these things were found. That is accurate. But when he took, quote unquote, the documents, was he president? Isn't that the argument? That is the declassification. Oh, I still don't like it. But that you want to argue that something that happened proves X, Y, and Z without taking a more honest look. You see, this is where it falls apart, Alex. There is no record of him declassifying them. What record has to exist for the president to declassify anything? A record has to exist? Some other system has to be at play? I don't think that's the way it works. And that's the whole point. As for Joe Biden should be in jail for what he had. What record has to exist? Show me where there's a conversation that a record has to exist for the president to declassify anything. You don't want to accept reality. That's your problem. But thanks for talking. I do appreciate it. So let's break down this Hilton story, because the Hilton Hotel Group has done a remarkably good job of saying, guys, this ain't us at all in any way. Tony Katz today Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Be sure to get over there and subscribe, download, subscribe, follow, do all the things. You can download things if you want. I'm not here to judge. The story with the Hilton Hotel in Minneapolis goes as follows. There is a franchisee of Hilton. And the franchisee of Hilton, known as Everpeak Hospitality, has a Hampton Inn. So the Hampton Inn brand is owned by Hilton. And people are like, I want to get into the hotel business and I want it to be a Hilton brand. I want to open a Hampton Inn. And Hilton says, great. And you pay a franchise fee and they are doing marketing and all sorts of things. Right? So this hotel, this Hampton Inn, Hilton Hotel, they had a reservation for ICE agents, Immigration Customs Enforcement. This was happening in Minnesota, Minneapolis area. Next thing you know, they get letters. The letters that they get state, sorry, you're not welcome. Now, that's a bit of a paraphrase. The letters that they get state, listen, we learned that you are from Department of Homeland Security and possibly Immigration Customs Enforcement. We don't support these kinds of activities in our hotel, so we're canceling your reservations. Well, the word goes out that Hilton has just thrown out ICE agents. Hilton jumps in immediately saying, whoa, 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 whoa. We didn't throw nobody out. This is a franchisee, this Everpeak, right? Or they called Everpeak Hospitality. We did not throw anybody out. We are not throwing anybody out. That goes against our values. We are reaching out to the franchisee. Everybody chill. The franchisee then puts out a statement that they have looked into this, and they said Everpeak Hospitality has moved swiftly to address this matter as it was inconsistent with our policy of being a welcoming place for all. We are in touch with the impacted guests to ensure they are accommodated. We do not discriminate against any individuals or agencies and apologize to those impacted. So, was it Hilton? Was it Everpeak? Now, it was clearly Everpeak and not Hilton. And Everpeak has said, guys, someone made a mistake and we've reached out, we fixed it. However, what we are learning from further investigation, which I believe took place by Nick Sotor, S-O-T-O-R. Is that his last name, S-O-T-O-R? Or is it S-O-N-T-O-R? Okay. Sortor, S-O-R-T-O-R. That's it. He heads over to the hotel, to this Hampton Inn run by Everpeak. And he says, so what's your policy here regarding ICE? What's your policy here? And they basically give him an answer of, oh yeah, we don't let those people stay here. Nick shows that the hotel, speaking to him directly on his camera, they are still doing this. That video goes live. Hilton loses their mind. And Hilton then states that this is completely and totally unacceptable. And we are ending the relationship with Everpeak. They terminated the franchise agreement. The hotel, seemingly according to Sean Davis of the Federalist, no longer listed on or acceptable or accessible via Hilton's website. It's no longer possible to make reservations for it through Hilton's website. Holy cow, this is a masterclass in crisis management. What is amazing here is the idea that the people at Everpeak, did they say they reached out when they didn't? Did they reach out on a corporate level, but never once spoke to the people who work at the hotel and said, don't answer any questions and give these people their dang reservations? How could the company Everpeak not be proactive in this? Just assume that it got done, and then it doesn't get done, and Hilton says, we don't need this headache. Bye, Felicia. Now, don't be surprised if 3 months from now, this hotel is back. Like, don't be surprised by that. Don't be surprised by that in the slightest. Now, in my chat room, I have a troll who says that this is good because it's private property. Then again, this is somebody who thinks that Trump stole classified documents, and they're not happy with Trump at all. Some people aren't happy with Trump. Let's go down the road of it's private property, and therefore Hilton and or Everpeak could decide who it is they are going to allow in their hotel and who they're not. The question is, what if they were black? I'll wait. What if they were black? And what if Everpeak said, we don't allow those kinds of people here? What if they were Jews, Zionists? What if they were all Hispanic? What if they were all deaf? What if they were all missing a leg? I'm trying to think of all the things. In order to engage in clarity, it should be known that I oppose the concept of the public accommodation. The idea that every business must welcome every person, I think, goes against the very concepts of liberty. By the way, the troll's response, none of those are government agents. Interesting. So what if they were to show up, they happen to be government agents because that's their job, but they're not working in capacity, they're just getting a hotel room? Your argument falls apart because you're saying that people can't get a hotel room, and you're saying that your reason is acceptable. What if somebody checks into the hotel and 2 days later it is learned that they work for the government? And are you arguing that all government employees can now be limited in their hotel stays because of their job? You oppose the work that organization is doing, that agency is doing. What right does that give the hotel to discriminate against them? And as I stated, I oppose the public accommodation. I believe a business should be allowed to say no to anyone at any time. No restaurant has to have me as a patron. None. You don't have to have somebody who's black or Asian or white or Hispanic or gay or straight or trans. You should be able to put up a sign that says, we don't serve these people here. We don't care if you're happy. Suck it. Like, that should be allowed. Because in a liberty society, that's what you should absolutely want. But I live in a society where in Colorado, the state, the government told an individual, you have to decorate a cake for a same-sex wedding, otherwise you can't be in business. That's what they said. People on the chat room, they have the right to refuse service to anyone. Masterpiece Cake Shop didn't. They were told that they were bigots. They were told they had to do it. And Colorado sued them. Then they lost in a very narrow decision in the Supreme Court. And then Colorado sued them again. If you want to engage, by the way, yes, comparing government to people. In the case of Colorado, the government was forcing the people to do something. And that's okay. Forcing a public accommodation? Oh, pick one, kitten. I favor businesses being able to decide who they serve. The country doesn't. The country says you have to serve the person in front of you. And there is no exception for private property providing a hotel room for somebody who has a job. That exception doesn't exist. The fact that I think it should doesn't matter. But let's take it away from all of it. You think this was a good business decision? You really think it was a good business decision? Because Hilton didn't. Hilton did not think it was a good business decision. Hilton thought it was an insane business decision. And here we are now with Hilton backing away from this and doing, as I said, I think a master class in the crisis PR. Handling things quickly, effectively, showing absolute decisiveness. Protecting their brand, protecting their stock price, etc. But man, if the left now wants to argue that it's okay to tell people they're not welcome based on where they work, okay. This is about to get really weird. This is about to get really, really weird. Because if private property owners can decide that they don't serve government agents, private property owners can decide they don't serve people who work for certain organizations, like Planned Parenthood. Why not? Why all of a sudden do their rights disappear? No. Give them their full rights to say no to anybody they want to say no to. That's my take. Say no to anybody you want to say no to. If we're down with that, I'm good. As for Everpeak, man, talk about a bungled situation, a madness situation. Is this going to affect Hilton? I assume in little bits, but not in a major way. I think Hilton has handled it well. And I don't think people are going to be canceling reservations en masse anytime soon. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back. Tony Katz today. I think that our friend Alex here doesn't understand that we do a radio show. I think that's what's going on. He doesn't believe I have commercials. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with the guy? That's it. And yeah, you keep mentioning the Fifth Amendment. I wonder if you meant the Third Amendment. I'm looking at the Fifth Amendment. Right? Which has to do with no person being held to answer for a capital or infamous crime. And double jeopardy, to be a witness against self, to be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, nor shall private property be taken for public use. And that's not what's happening in the case of the hotels. They're renting rooms and following the rules of the hotel. And they're paying for it. So you keep making this argument. And yeah, if you're going to call people Nazi in here, let's not let it down. No, none of that. So wait, if you're talking the Fourth Amendment, no, I think you mean the Third, because the Fourth Amendment is about search and seizure. Third Amendment is about quartering of soldiers. So I think you mean the Third. That's where I think you're at. And the Third Amendment is not the conversation here, because these aren't soldiers. And as I think we could argue, we know they're not soldiers, because didn't the Supreme Court just discuss the idea that you can't have the National Guard troops in Chicago specifically because they're not soldiers and because they're law enforcement agents? Wasn't that part of that decision? Just what I notice. Yeah, I've been opposed to the Fourth Amendment does not. No, it doesn't. All right, I'm going to have to give up now, Alex. I tried my best. You just won't engage in a way that you keep moving these goalposts. You have talked and you have shared, and I appreciate that, but gosh almighty. I do oppose the public accommodation. I do. I believe in an actual free society. People should be able to make choices, even stupid ones. Anyway, when are we back, Producer Landon? Coming back? Excellent. So Tim Walz has decided he's finally going to answer questions for the press. Because weird, he did the press conference yesterday and he refused to answer questions. It was very strange. And reporters were unhappy. And now he's asked about not running.
Did you make the decision to end your campaign by yourself, or did you receive pressure from Democratic allies?
This is a decision that I make and make with my family. And certainly, I think, as I said, it's the right decision. I'll note, I think it's appropriate we're here today. The war that's being waged against Minnesota, you're seeing it. We have a ridiculous surge of apparently 2,000 people not coordinating with us that are for a show of the cameras. I'm going to note to all of you, today is January 6th. There's no debate what happened. The President of the United States led an insurrection against a fair election.
That did not happen. And my gosh, what spin. You are in the middle of a scandal. You have allowed the scandal to happen in Minnesota. You have not been proactive. You have been scared because you didn't want to be called a racist. Democrats did not engage any investigations. Shame on those people on the political right who didn't properly investigate this or bring this story to the fore when he was running for vice president. And now that you have been found, now that you've been discovered, or it's been discovered, and you're looking the other way on so much of it, you decide not to run because you know you're going to get throttled. And when you bring up not running, well, hey, it's January 6th. Look what Donald Trump did. This is the entire progressive movement through the midterms. This is how they believe they're going to win. This is how they think they're going to do it. And so we have to address how we win, which is why I'm getting everybody together January 24th. Tickets.TonyKatz.com, the bourbon, the food, red tie, cocktail attire. We're going to be fancy, people. Come join us. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. And I'll explain to you how we counter this and win the midterms. Keep it here. It's Tony Katz today. Oh, I got to admit, I appreciate Alex there. I mean, he got silly, but he was trying to push an argument. You could tell government people no. Was I able to tell government people no about vaccines? Just curious what I could tell government people no about. What am I allowed to say no to? Anyway, I appreciate it. And guys, I appreciate you so very much. Now, I am a twofer today on Newsmax. I'll be on American Agenda at 3:40. I should have said this on air. I don't know. I'll say it later. And then I will be on with, am I on with Ed Henry tonight? I'm on with Carl Higbee tonight at 6:30. So a double on Newsmax. Looking forward to that. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to go to TonyKatz.com and be a part of what's happening over there. Go subscribe. Do that. Go to TonyKatz.com. If you would, the show sheet is about to be up, and so you can get everything I was talking about. It'll be, boom, right there for you. I appreciate you, and I will catch you tomorrow. You be good. Take care.